My bad. Yeah, we'll just do it this way, I guess. And welcome, everybody, to the Monday edition of the Just Parlay Show here at the Max Wagers Network. I'm your co-host, Scott Reichel, and joining me, of course, since this is a parlay show, is parlay expert Chris King. Sorry I butchered the intro. You know, it's Monday. Get a little bit of a pass there.
Today's countdown was brought to you by lack of interest.
I hit the button, and then I tried to hit the end of the button. Like, I tried to cancel it out halfway through. Didn't take. So here we are. How's it going?
Like you said, it's Monday. I don't know how the weather is up there, but it's your typical 90-plus degree day down here, nice and sunny. And, of course, there's supposed to be rain later. So that just means, it means humidity, and that means don't go outside.
Yeah, New York was in the midst of kind of a heat wave for the last couple of days. It's currently 91. It's supposed to be about 97 tomorrow, so that's going to be, well, a good reason for me to stay inside. But after that, it's supposed to go back down to 80-something, so it seems like the heat wave's mostly over. A couple more days to go. But other than that, though, how's your betting weekend? All good with you?
Yeah, so let me guess, that means when it goes down, that means that's just another good reason to stay inside.
Yep, true. Are you a big air conditioning guy?
Okay, weird games unfold. We talked about how bad the umpiring was yesterday with Ed Hickox, how that guy has a job. He made Angel Hernandez look good, and that's saying something.
It's one thing if you're going to get the calls wrong for the balls and strikes.
Minus the strike zone.
I was going to say, it's one thing if you get the calls wrong with the balls and strikes, but he also got a call wrong involving a guy getting thrown out at the plate. Like, how do you mess up everything that a home plate umpire has to do? Like, Hicks made the throw. He was clearly safe. Like, I don't know what he was looking at, but whatever.
I don't think he knows what he was looking at.
Yeah.
It was piss poor all the way around. I think the umpire, that's not the kind of record you want to have on your ledger.
Yeah, I don't have the missed call like season highs in front of me, but I'm assuming that he might be in the top 3 or bottom 3, depending on how you interpret it, because it was one of the worst performances of the year. And I'm sure a lot of people follow the ump report, that kind of thing on Twitter, where they tell you how the umpire performed. I guarantee you it's going to be somewhere in the 80s for accuracy because he was awful. You could argue potentially would be high 70s. Like, he was that bad.
Yeah, he was. I don't know what he was looking at half the time. I see looks like, yesterday was Doug Eddings missed 29 calls.
That's kind of impressive, to be honest.
Yeah, it says he incorrectly called 26 or taken the 12-inning game between the Blue Jays and the White Sox. His called strike accuracy was 64%.
That's bad. That's like grounds for expulsion bad. That's rough. I mean, if that was school, that's an F if you're taking an exam. I mean, that's rough.
Yeah, it says, and nearly all the missed calls were called strikes because he scored 99% on called balls.
Maybe
how bad can you get?
Yeah, I don't know. But Ryan's asking, greetings from California. Do you guys think they will ever legalize sports betting in the state? At some point, sometime soon? No. I think that California is going to be one of the last ones to do it, if I had to guess. It seems like it has the same issues that kind of Texas has, but from opposite spectrums, where they're afraid about either addiction, which is, a byproduct of whatever, or they're so far behind that you're not exactly sure when they'll eventually be able to catch up. And Texas, I think, is going to be the last state to do it. Either that or Hawaii. I know Hawaii is true, but Texas has been...
Which is weird because Hawaii is everything else,
Yeah, but Hawaii is pretty known to be anti-gambling. I don't know if any of you at home knew that, but it's just the truth. But Texas, I think, is a long way away. Like, Texas hasn't even started the framework. California really hasn't either. But if you're asking which of those two I think is going to cave first, I think California is going to cave before Texas. You? You have any thoughts on that?
I think it's going to be interesting to see what California does. You'd think that they'd be jumping at a chance for another revenue stream, but Newsom decides to run for president and have to put somebody else in as the governor of California. Texas, I don't understand that. You'd figure that they would want to, do that.
Texas just isn't even close.
If I had that, Texas being first. But, I mean, at this rate, you could see states from the Bible Belt coming up with gambling before you see it in some of these other.
Yeah, we've seen it expand throughout the United States.
Some of these places like California and Texas.
We've seen it in. I mean, Michigan's one of the first ones. You've had You've had a lot of states that have started to embrace it, and yet it seems like some states just live in their own bubble, and they don't really care about what's going on with the other states. They're going to keep doing their own thing. California and Texas both, kind of check that box, where it seems like there's no immediate desire to actually legalize the thing, which I still don't understand why every state's not jumping at it, because the amount of money you're going to make from legalizing it is pretty substantial, especially in California or Texas with that big of a population. They should be jumping at it, but for whatever reason, usually involving...
Right. I mean, look how much money New York's January.
New York's making over $1 billion a year. So $1 billion a month, I mean, based on overall just betting amounts. But
yeah, that's because they're getting 50% of whatever the. At least that's what I've come to understand. It's 50%.
It is. So if you want to talk about the actual math involved, the state's making what, like $700 million a month? If it's 50%, I mean, I'm pretty sure New York's handle's been like 1.4, I think, for the last couple of months. It's been over $1 billion. I know that for sure.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a missed opportunity for them. But Ryan, as for your sake, you might have to stick with offshore.
So I mean, it's a good way, and that could be a plus for everybody. That way, maybe they won't raise your taxes; they'll just tax all the degenerates. Which I guess in some cases,
New York's tax is already pretty high, so that's kind of why they decided to just do it. But
in some cases, it could be you guys.
Yeah, it could be.
Is your Wi-Fi choppy, Scott, or is it mine?
I believe it's both of ours. I think it might be yours, because I know you had an issue with the Wi-Fi last week, but there's nothing we can really do about it. So we're kind of just stuck with it. But yeah, Ryan, to answer your question, I think it's going to take a while for California to legalize. It might happen at some point, but in reality, you're probably best case scenario a couple years down the road, because the framework's not even being discussed right now.
Which is strange, because you would think, like I said, that they would want to jump on that bandwagon of governments like to do. So
yeah, and it's a process. You got to first pass some type of bill. It's got to get into motion. You got to vote on it. You got to do a bunch of stuff. And some states haven't even bothered to fill out the bill or sign or create the bill. California is one of the states that's the furthest behind. I mean, I mentioned Texas. You can throw in Alaska for fun if you want to, but I think you get my point, So, I don't know. We'll see what happens moving forward. But besides that, you have any other sports takeaways for the weekend? Anything that jump off the page to you?
Not terribly. I mean,
I was going to say either results or news. Anything that kind of just jumps off to you.
I was really
relatively quiet.
Yeah, the Nationals got mauled, but nobody was surprised by that. I guess maybe you could be surprised that the Cubs-Marlins series saw almost more 10 runs. And guess what? Now Washington comes to town, and the weather is not going to be conducive to any offense tonight either. So look for another low score going for the Nats. I didn't watch the NASCAR race. I saw everybody was talking about Dale Earnhardt Jr. Did I miss anything exciting there?
I caught the last 50 laps. Hamlin had the best car the entire afternoon. And then there was a caution. Of course, Chastain was involved in something, but Bell banged into a wall, and they went to caution with maybe 55 to go, give or take. And all the leaders came into the pits, final, whatever, get some gas, get some tires, and you're good to go. But Hamlin had the best car, like the entire day. And then one of Hamlin's tires went rogue and started rolling into the pit next door. And one of the pit crew people grabbed the tire, but it was over the line. So they said that Hamlin had too many people over the wall, and he ended up getting a penalty for it. He was pushed to the back of the lead lap. So he went from first place to roughly like 20th, and Harvick had the second best car, and Harvick took off and he dominated. So it was a mix of luck because Hamlin had the best car, and then you had a fluke thing happen on pit road. But once Harvick took the lead, he was up by about 4 seconds the rest of the way. Like, no other car stood a shot. Bubba Wallace, I believe, came in second for like the second race in a row or whatever. He's actually been running well lately. But yeah, Harvick ended up basically clinching a spot in the chase. Good for him. But yeah, Harvick had the second best car and Hamlin had the best. But because of unforeseen circumstances, Harvick snapped his race winless streak.
The last takeaway, let me ask you, we saw the Padres go and face the Dodgers and get swept.
Faced is one
does this just...
Yeah. They got smacked, but, it depends how you want to use it. That was a bloodbath.
Does this photo and all those guys, do we say that they're still not at the level of Los Angeles?
Well, we said it beforehand, but I'm not going to fully roast the Padres because Tatis hasn't played yet. Now, is that going to change the pitching? No, because the Dodgers pitching did a pretty good job against them.
Their pitching, right? Do you think that those starters are going to hold up in a series against the Dodgers pitchers?
No. I mean, we talked about it, but the Dodgers also threw out Bellinger and Gallo willingly in the same lineup, and Chris Taylor, who's also been pretty underwhelming this year. So I'm still not sold on the bottom part of the Dodgers lineup, but the top part's so good. And Bellinger was great last night. He had 2 home runs, but I don't know if I fully trust him. But I'm not going to fully be concerned if I'm San Diego, or I don't know what you're supposed to say. You got swept in the middle of the season by your arch rival. You had really no shot to win the division anyway, and Tatis hasn't played yet. So I'm not going to say that it's immediate code red for the Padres. When Tatis comes back, we'll reevaluate. I'm assuming we're on the same page there.
Yeah, and what do you think about Atlanta now? They lost the series to the Mets. The Mets now at plus 260 to win the National League, as opposed to plus 700 at the All-Star break. Do we think this is a bit of an overreaction?
I actually don't. Like I want to make a case
but even that high to win the pennant?
I want to make a case for the Mets being overrated just because everybody seems to love the Mets at this point. I really can't. You're looking at a situation where in a best of 5 in the first round, you have DeGrom and Scherzer, followed by, I know Walker got killed the last time out, but you have a couple options. That's the point. But DeGrom and Scherzer in games 1 and 2, like I just can't look past that. And the offense has actually been solid. Vogelbach's been a solid addition for them. I'm not surprised because I actually like him as a player. But Alonso's caught fire. Marte's been very good. And Lindor's been good. I mean, he better be for the money that they're paying him. And Diaz has been the best closer in the league this season. So the Mets really check a lot of boxes. The main concern is Buck Showalter in the playoffs because we've seen a lot of, I'd say, underwhelming performances by his teams in the postseason. But if you want to talk about the teams that are going to stand at the upper echelon in the National League, it's the Dodgers and Mets, right? I mean, I like the Braves, but I think we saw this past weekend, they're not on the same level as the Mets. Can we say that?
And now they sent Ian Anderson down.
Well, they should. He's not very good.
No, but I mean, a couple of years ago, everybody thought he was great and mediocre. But I mean, who's going to take his spot?
They traded for Odorizzi. Like, am I really supposed to take this team seriously come playoff time? Like, Odorizzi started a game for the Braves, and he was terrible already.
Yeah, only if you're on drugs. I mean, I can't put faith in Odorizzi.
Are we penciling Dodgers versus Mets? I guess the argument you could have is that the Padres could hypothetically face the Mets, and then you could have an argument for an upset there. But if the Padres end up facing off against the Dodgers and the Mets are on the other side, I think that's a pretty solid road. And if you're asking me right now which team I actually would pick to come out of the National League, I think I would pick the Mets because I'm not going to take whatever price the Dodgers are. I can't. I think Dave
True.
Roberts is still an underwhelming manager. I think the Dodgers are overvalued. It makes sense, but I'm not gonna take that price. So the only attractive option I have left besides a long shot with the Cardinals is going to be the Mets. You?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the Dodgers are going to be a prohibitive favorite just because they've got a loaded lineup. So you'd have to chase the Mets at that point, or else just punt, because I wouldn't bet on the Cardinals. I know Montgomery looked good. They'll sit in their rotation, and you've got Wainwright's going to be 41.
Are we assuming Flaherty's still alive, or is he officially done for the rest of the year? I don't know if you can trust him anyway, but Flaherty's barely pitched this year. That's why I'm throwing it out there.
Let me look. I know Matz, of course, is done. Okay, Flaherty is supposed to start a rehab assignment. Supposed to meet with team officials yesterday.
Okay.
To determine how soon he would start one.
For the record, I think around playoff time he would not be starting. I think he'd be a middle relief guy, or at least maybe to build up some arm strength. But he was terrible when he came back.
True.
It's tough.
And speaking of teams for the NL Central, we got the Brewers who have backslid. Talk about how great Devin Williams was, and he's lost 2 straight appearances.
Well, I watched it. I can't fully roast him for what happened in extra innings yesterday. I mean, you have a guy on second, obviously. Aquino hits a ground ball to the third baseman.
Worse,
he throws it up the line, and Aquino turns about a 5-foot ground ball into a Little League triple, and then you have a sac fly. Like, I get Williams got the loss and the Reds scored 2 runs, but I mean, I can't blame him on that because in terms of contact, you had a 5-foot ground ball and a sac fly. That's it. Like that's the only thing he gave up. So I can't fully criticize Williams for it, but I did live bet the Brewers in that game, so I'm a little bit salty about it, but I'm not going to blame Williams. But still, I bet the Cardinals over the weekend to win the division. I feel like when they traded Hader, that was the entire message that I needed of we care more about shedding payroll. We're not going all in. And yes, the Cardinals had a lot of big names that they were linked to at the deadline, and they ended up with Quintana and Jordan Montgomery. And I get that's kind of weak. I still like the overall foundation of the team. The rotation is good enough to beat the Brewers potentially in a series, but for the most part to not fully self-destruct. And you look at the lineup, Arenado's been great. Goldschmidt's been an MVP caliber player. I really like Carlson. I think Carlson's a very underrated player. He just has very good at-bats at the top of the lineup. But you're going down the line. I think the Cardinals are a classic St. Louis team, a fundamentally sound baseball team that's not going to beat themselves. They're going to watch the Brewers implode. That was my takeaway. I got like minus 145.
At the way that team has played, and they've been mediocre at best in the case of the Brewers. And, you look at the lineup, and, Yelich has done nothing really.
I'm trying to think of anybody on the Brewers that has been consistent
really since he won
lineup.
the MVP in spots. Yeah. Rowdy Tellez is hitting, 230 something.
But who's the best hitter on
that team? There's nobody in that lineup.
Is it Adames? Like, I don't know. Like, the whole lineup has been awful.
Yeah, I'm just going to take a quick look at their stats there.
It might be Adames, solely because of home runs. Like, the averages are abysmal for the entire team.
Ooh, let's see. Let's take a look here. Milwaukee, also known as
Milwaukee.
no boy. But at least he's got 22 homers. Yeah, Adames has got 22 homers, but he's hitting 220.
That's my point. Nobody on the Brewers team actually gets on base on a regular basis. So their hitting has been awful. They traded their best reliever. The rotation we know is still good.
Yeah,
on
Yelich
paper,
is hitting
but
263 that you would consider as a starter, and he's batting
that's what I'm saying.
263.
But you're looking even at the overall rotation. We know Peralta was coming back, but Burns has been okay the last couple starts. He hasn't been great. Besides that, Woodruff's been okay. Going down the line, I mean, do you like Lauer? Do you like these other guys? Probably not. I think the Brewers are in the middle of a free fall. But I also looked at the Cardinals up.
At least Lauer's won 8 games.
Yeah, he's won 8. He's won 8, so they've won 4. He's been okay. I just don't trust him. But you're looking at the upcoming schedule. The Cardinals have the Rockies, the Cubs. I think they play the Brewers. Then they play like the Pirates and the Cubs again. Like they have a pretty easy schedule for the next couple of weeks. The Brewers have to play the Dodgers like 7 times in the next 2-3 weeks, which is rough. So we'll see what happens. But I did bet the Cardinals to win the division.
If you're Milwaukee.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Anyway, you think it's time to start going into today's card?
The card for what it is. I mean, you've got 7 games, and most of them are terrible.
I'm sure you got parlays anyway.
Yeah, I don't know how excited anybody is about the Mets and the Reds. I don't know about how you would feel about that game, but I think that line opened at 265, and it's now 350.
Yeah, as it should.
That's the worst line on the market.
I don't want to lay 350 with Bassett, but I don't think the Reds got a shot today. I mean, like the Mets just had a great series. They dominated their rival.
I agree, but they're like.
I can't lay that with Bassett. I mean, that's just crazy.
Yeah. So we'll take a look at a couple of the games that are actually have normal numbers. Scott, it's the Orioles at Camden Yards against the Blue Jays. Yeah, the Blue Jays are 12 games above 500. You know, they picked up a little bit of ground in the division. They're still sub 500 on the. And the biggest reason why I don't trust Toronto here, look who's pitching.
Cooch.
It's everybody's favorite. I could walk 4 guys and get pulled in the first inning. Or I could actually give you 6 good innings. To quote Forrest Gump, life is like a box of chocolates and you never know what you're going to get. And that's basically what Kikuchi does. You don't know what he's going to do from start to start. He walks way too many guys.
Definitely true. Now, I guess the
43 walks is. Can you? Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say the counterpoint, though, is that you got Lyles on the other end, and he's giving up, I believe he's like top 10, or for the sake of pitching, bottom 10 in home runs allowed. So he's not afraid to give up a couple of moonshots, and I know Vlad Jr. is on a 17-game hit streak. He's knocking the cover off the ball. I like the over in this game because I don't trust either pitcher. Yeah, I think I'm looking at a team total as well, but does it shock you at all that Toronto is still using Kikuchi on a regular basis? Because he's been atrocious.
Yeah, I said a while ago that I thought that they would get him out of there and put Casey Lawrence or somebody else from, not that, they're not going to dump him out of the rotation because he's in the first year of a 3-year deal.
Pearson, maybe?
We've seen plenty of guys.
Call him up from the minors?
Yeah, exactly. Call up pretty much anybody from the minors they does. And I think the big issue is, like I said, Steen thought they wouldn't dump him out of the rotation because he's in the first year of a deal. So what? We've seen a lot of guys that have been in the first year of a deal that aren't. If it was me, I wouldn't be putting him out there every 5th day. I wouldn't be putting him out there at all.
I got really nothing more to add. You're getting plus money fading Kikuchi. I just
don't have faith in what he does, and he's not good now.
Yeah, he has not been good. Baltimore has been Mediocre recently. I know that Baltimore struggled against Pittsburgh over the weekend, which is not. They were okay against Pittsburgh, I guess. But anytime you don't sweep Pittsburgh, that's considered an underwhelming series. I'm with JR on this one. I like the team total over for Baltimore. Should get a pretty good line because Baltimore is a dog, but you get the fade Kikuchi, which I think is always entertaining and appealing. So I don't mind the team total there for Baltimore.
Yeah, let's see what the total is. I was looking at it earlier, but of course,
I'm assuming it's a heavily juiced. It's going to probably be
everything changes. Baltimore
flat
over
4.5.
Over 4.5 is plus 120. Over 3.5 is minus 145.
The 3.5 minus 145 is actually not bad. I'm sure one book has a flat 4, probably close to even money. I don't mind that. JoJo's mentioned that he likes Kikuchi over 1.5 walks at plus 105. I have to like that.
That's
plus money. I mean, that's a very nice price there. Yeah, JoJo,
I
like
that gift.
Play too. Yeah, I like that play too.
It's money.
Yeah. But, okay.
And then we'll move on to, how about the Diamondbacks and the Pirates? Well, we just talked about how the Pirates are. Somebody thought he was decent. Remember 2020? Seems like an eternity ago. Now he's pitching for Pittsburgh because San Francisco DFA'd him, and Pittsburgh said, "Oh, well, And Zach Gallen's going to go for the Diamondbacks. Gallen, he's been up and down a bit of late, but he's still got a 6-2 record. Averages almost a strikeout an inning. His whip is slightly. I don't know how he's only got a 3.89 ERA. I'm guessing that he's been extremely fortunate because
he also hasn't pitched that much. It's a small sample size.
With those numbers, he should be about. But let's see here. Well, he's got a 3.66 ERA with the Pirates in 18 appearances, 1 start. So he's not. His longest outing of the year was 3 innings.
He's an opener. So have fun with that Pirates bullpen.
And when he started against Milwaukee in his lone start, third, gave up 4 runs on 5 hits with 2 walks. And a game that the Pirates ended up winning 8-7. I guess my concern is, can you get any more?
I think my main concern here is laying 238 with Arizona. I do love the run line in this game. The run line at minus 114, I think, is a very nice price. I can't, on principle, lay 238 with Arizona, so I'm going to go with the run line there. Gallen's been good.
I figure you're saying, Pittsburgh's the third worst team scoring. I don't think they're going to do a whole lot against Gallen.
Yeah, that's fair. I just don't want to lay 238 there, so I'm going to go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I was thinking the run line, too.
Yeah, that's how I'd look at it.
And Bill McDonald said the Liberty can be.
I mean, it's my play of the day. I got the Wings minus 3.5. I believe it's up to 4. The Liberty had a really awful performance against Phoenix over the weekend. Dallas didn't look great either, but at least they won the game. Dallas can clinch a playoff spot with a win. They've won 4 in a row. The Liberty have lost each of their last 6 road games, and 5 of them have really not been close. The Liberty are a team that's very streaky, and I trust Dallas more based on current form. But I thought 3.5 was too low. I took it.
Yeah, I see it. It's shifted now to 4 or 4.5. It's now gone. It was 160.5 yesterday. Now it's 161 or 161.5. Like you said, Dallas played miserable basketball for the first in that one.
It was for a half. They had one of the worst halves I've seen all season long. They gave up 50 points to the worst offense in the league without its best player. And then halftime came around, and they said, all right, we got to actually try and play basketball. And they dominated. They outscored the Fever in the third and fourth quarters by 17 points combined. So I'm going to chalk it up to a bad half. But I'm hoping after that no-show in the first half, they come out with a purpose, especially with a playoff spot on the line. And the Liberty, I want to like them because they're my local team, but they're so much worse on the road. I just can't trust this team on the highway. So, yeah, I went with Dallas. I think that line's too short.
And I was looking at personally from that on the total perspective, I was looking at the under because I butcher that one because it's way too many letters for me to figure out. Isn't playing for Dallas. And what, Natasha Howard, is she officially out for the Liberty tonight?
I was going to say, she kind of messed up her ankle last game. Agumbawale got injured in the middle of that Indiana game. However, that one really doesn't concern me. I know that Agumbawale is the leading scorer, but if you look at the recent results, they beat Chicago, they beat Vegas, and they had the comeback against Indiana. And all three of those things have one thing in common. Agumbawale didn't play. She got injured when Dallas was down like 15 in the first half, and then they came back and beat Indiana. But they beat the two best teams in the league without Agumbawale stepping foot on the court. So you can argue that there's a lot of Ewing theory going on with Dallas right now, where they're actually playing better without her. Natasha Howard's just invaluable to that team. She's the best defensive player on the team. She's any type of paint presence, which they really don't have. But assuming that both players will be out for this one, I think Howard is significantly more valuable. So I think her being out is really just brutal for the Liberty. So, yeah, it kind of goes back to my point. I like the Wings.
But, yeah, but I get the Wings. But, I mean, do you think this was going to end up under the total? Because these two are two of the four slowest teams in terms of pace.
I like the under anyway. You're looking at the Liberty offensively.
In the league as it is.
Yeah. The Liberty have scored less than 65 points in each of their last two games. There's no way I'm taking it over.
Yeah, I've seen. That's what I did. I was 161 to 161.5. I don't think you're gonna get anywhere near that.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I don't think the Liberty do enough. I think the Liberty get to 70 and change. I'm not picking Dallas to go for 90. Like, I think Dallas has to do a lot of the heavy lifting here. So I'd rather just take the under. I think that's going to be a safe play as well.
And Don asked, what do you think about the under 4? I'm guessing in the first 5 for the A's and Angels.
I don't really like Suarez. Irvin's been okay, but I mean, both teams are terrible. Do you have any thoughts on this one? Because I feel like based on the offenses, you automatically lean under, but I'm not sold on Suarez. Are you?
Not terribly. The one thing is he pitches well early in his starts.
Yeah.
Because I don't, both those teams are terrible, but Irvin in his last 6 starts, going back to the beginning of July, has a 203 earned run average outside of Ohtani at this point, because we still don't know what's going to happen with Trout and the rest of that lineup outside of Rengifo has been pretty much nothing. He's going to stay under all the way, and then we saw the Angels hit 7 solo homers and still lose. But when Irvin pitched against the A1, so you might not get a big offensive bonanza here. I would probably lean towards the under.
Yeah, I think I'd lean that way. I know that Don's a big fan of unders, and he's been asking us our favorite under plays for the last couple of days. I don't know if I really love a single under on today's baseball card. It's a limited card. It seems like each matchup has at least one pitcher that could get blown up. So I don't really like any of the unders today. If you want to go based on weather, then that involves backing Anibal Sanchez, which I don't want to do, but the wind's blowing in by double-digit miles per hour in Wrigley. But
yeah, almost 20.
That's what I'm saying. So I guess if you want to go based on weather, you could look for the under. I don't mind taking no home run in that Cubs game, and it's probably going to be like plus 200, but I mean, the wind's blowing in like crazy. I don't mind that play, but Yeah, I don't really love any unders, but I would lean to the under in that Angels game.
I went with one under, and it's the one that you just talked about, and that's at Wrigley because the funny thing is it's the 34th anniversary they attempted because they never finished the game. It was rained out. Night game at Wrigley Field back on 8/8/88 of all things. Scott, you were what, -8?
I wasn't around in 1888.
That's good to know you weren't around in 1888.
Yeah, I know you meant 19. I know you meant 1988. It feels like Wrigley's been around for like.
But we're talking about 1988.
I know. I'm saying it feels like Wrigley's been around for 150 years. Yeah, I can't say I was born. I was -9 when that happened. It was a good day.
-9.
Yeah, I was -9. So there you go. But
okay.
Yeah,
Wrigley.
This is really the annoying part about Wrigley because you see Annabelle. I actually like Keegan Thompson. I think he's actually not that bad. But the wind's blowing in 20, so I don't even know what you should plan on doing besides just hoping the Cubs piece together a bunch of hits because you're not going to get many home runs. Like, that's the problem.
This is going to be like hitting the ball into where you crush the ball and, on a normal night it would go 450 feet. And it's going to end up being an infield pop-up.
Yeah, pretty much. But you have any other things you want to talk about for the parlays?
But I don't have a ton of faith in some of these other ones,
Yep.
The Mets are going to end up putting up a bunch of runs. The number for the Padres game is kind of low. The number is kind of low for the Mariners and the Yankees, especially considering these two pitchers met last week and
I like the over in that Yankees.
We saw that's the one that jumps out.
Yeah, Don was looking for unders. My favorite over is the Yankees-Mariners game. Because as you just said, these pitchers literally just pitched against each other about a week ago, and neither of them were good. So I like the over. The Yankees burned about 90% of their bullpen yesterday because Montes only went about 3 and change.
Right.
So I got to like the over here. I think that number is too low, and I think you're going to see runs.
Yeah, do you are you concerned about Montes' performance yesterday? You think it was a shake-off?
Concern's not the right word because he was a little bit wild. I thought his stuff was actually pretty good. It just seemed like he had a hard time locating it. He had a brutal week. He hasn't pitched in like 2.5 weeks. He gets traded around the trade deadline. Then as soon as he's about to actually show up and meet the team, somebody in his family dies. So he goes on bereavement leave for like 2-3 days. He doesn't meet the entire team until like a day before the game. And then he goes in and pitches. So if you really look at the timeline that he was dealing with for the last week or so, he was really kind of being set up to fail. Now, there wasn't anything the Yankees could do about it because it was his turn in the rotation, but he barely met Trevino, and he just came off bereavement leave, and he hadn't pitched in like 2-3 weeks. I can't say that I'm fully shocked that he struggled. I can't say that fully surprises me. Were you surprised?
Like Sloane Stephens over in the tennis world. It says Sloane Stephens -25.
I'm assuming that's -2.5 in the game spread if I had to guess. Stephens taking on Kennan. I kind of have to like it. Kennan's a solid American player, but the issue is she's been injured the entire year. If you look at her overall numbers, she played in Indian Wells, lost in the first round back in March, then did not play another singles match until August, got killed by Osorio, who most people don't know. Stephens should dominate that match because Kennan is such just an unproven commodity at this point because she's been injured for the last basically 5 months. And Stephens has actually done well in this tournament. I believe she was runner-up a couple years ago. So she has had success here in Toronto. And based on the current injury form or the lack of tune-up matches for Kennan, I kind of have to assume Sloane Stephens crushes her. So, yeah, I don't mind that, Bill. You have any other slides for the parlays?
I couldn't understand a thing you said because you kept freezing up in the middle of what you were saying.
I was saying that I like Stephens. Do you have anything else you want to move on to for parlays? That's what I was saying. Yeah, I don't know why.
I trust you. I've seen Stephens. It's just one of those days.
The Wi-Fi's been
it's
choppy.
Monday.
Apologies,
Well, it's Monday, The technical. But yeah, I mean, I know about Sloane Stephens. I think that, like you said, she's facing a player that hasn't played much in the last 5 months.
Yeah.
Doesn't really bode well at this point of the tournament.
Mm.
So I think it's probably a pretty safe bet. I didn't know what the minus 25 meant because I'm not familiar with how 10.
Well, 25 is a typo because there was a period after it. It was supposed to be 2.5.
As betting works.
Yeah, it's supposed to be 2.5 games.
Okay, gotcha. So what? She's supposed to win like 6-2, 6.
You don't even need 6-2. Just 6-4, 7-6.
4, whatever her opponent.
6-4, 7-6. Easy winner.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not that bad. But
gotcha.
Anyway, you want to move on to the next baseball game?
Yeah. Next. And then we've got the A's and Angels nerfy. Like I said, the A's don't score any runs. The Angels don't score any runs either. Where Suarez actually pitches good early. Irvin's been on a roll. And outside of Ohtani, can you trust anybody at the top of that lineup to do anything? Probably not.
Yeah. True.
Then I hate Blake Snell. I hate Alex Wood even more. I don't have any faith in the Giants. And San Diego needs a win here. Probably more than the Giants know what that's like. They've been beaten up, 7 or 8 times now in the second half of the season.
The Giants have an all-time high morale because they swept the Athletics in a 2-game series on the road. Doesn't that jumpstart the entire team? I'm joking. Like, you better beat Oakland in a 2-game series, but the Padres got killed by arguably the best team in the league. Like,
right.
Calm down. Like, it's really not that big of a deal. They're against a weaker opponent in this one. Look, Snell, we've roasted the entire season because his overall numbers weren't good. The last month or two, he's actually been pretty solid.
Yeah, he's a second half pitcher. I know he's 27 and 10. He still might not go long in this game, but the Padres have the bats to make up for it. But on the flip side, I don't think either one of these teams is going to score on the first inning either. I think the Giants runs. Snell has struck out 18 of the 50 batters he's faced in the first inning this season. And the Padres, we just saw them get blanked. Like we said, they got killed by the best team in the league, but they're not a big first inning team either.
Yeah, definitely true.
So, let's move on to 4 for the show. Scott, are you concerned at all about Tyone and his struggles in the last 6-7 starts?
Yes. I'm concerned about every single Yankees pitcher besides Cortez. Cortez has been the only consistent guy. Germán's actually been okay in his last couple outings. He hasn't looked good, but he's managed to dance in and out of trouble. But I have no interest in backing the Yankees at this point in time. I get it's a good price at minus 105, which is why you're taking it.
The internet is Richel's that's choppy.
I don't know.
Richel's already apologized for his internet 55 times.
They're all yelling at you, so I'm assuming it's not me. I don't know. But either way, the point is we're a team over here, at the Max Wagers Network, so we're both
No, it's
responsible
just Steen
for bad
because
Wi-Fi? Could be.
I think we'll just blame it on Steen.
I get your angle, but I'm not taking the Yankees. They've shown me nothing. Until I actually see them consistently show up for 9
You're
innings,
actually
I'm not going to pick them. And I actually like Gilbert. I think Gilbert's not bad.
yeah, he isn't bad. He's pitched pretty well. He got shelled in that start too. We talked about the Orioles already. I'm going to go with Bassett over 18.5 outs. We look at the Reds lineup outside of Joey Votto. It's pretty
even including Votto. Votto's been a disaster this
much a AAA lineup, or what the Royals 6 and a third innings to start over the course of the year as it is. I don't think he should have any problem going that deep in this contest.
I don't either.
Like I said, I wouldn't pay minus 350 to back him to go 6 and a third.
Yeah.
And then we got Washington. Yeah, Washington and the Cubs under 8, like we said. Winds coming in about 20 miles an hour left. Look for a lot of well-hit balls to end up not very deep in the outfield. If you get one out in that wind, you either hit a laser beam on a line. And Andrew wants to know what's wrong with the Yankees lately, Scott.
For the record,
what's
Andrew,
wrong with the Yankees?
The Capitals are worthy because they've been that bad that there should be Capitals there. What's wrong with them? This team has a lot of flaws right now. I think the main issue for me is the fact that the rotation has regressed entirely because the rotation was so good to start the year. And if you want to look at the overall lineup, I know they were good last year. They were good early on in the season. But the situational hitting was better yesterday. For the most part, it has not been there. This team has reverted back to the home run or bust philosophy, and it's really not worked out. And when it comes down to it, this team needs to do a better job of constructing better at-bats. The bottom of the lineup's a joke. I can't believe that Hicks is still playing every day, which is just absurd to me. Hicks was 0 for 33. He ended up getting a couple of hits yesterday.
Well, and that's...
But 0 for
you figure when Bader comes back that he's going to take over for Hicks, right?
He better. Hicks should not be playing. He's that bad. But when you throw him out there every day, Glaber also had a couple of hits yesterday, but Glaber was 1 for 20-something for the last... And they're also injured. Stan's hurt. Rizzo's hurt. You're using a bunch of substitutes like Marwin Gonzalez, who's been awful. But the problem with the Yankees have is they're injured, and it seems like the lineup has really just struggled to fully move the line. And I think that's a serious problem, not to mention the fact that the pitching staff has really been underwhelming. Holmes has imploded. The mid-relief has not been good. I don't know what the Yankees have done well at the last couple of weeks, besides Judge still performing very well. Is that basically it?
Brian, yeah, basically. If you had to guess, which way would you lean?
Oh, boy. I got to assume they're going to snap out of it at some point, but not tonight for me. I think Gilbert's good enough to at least somewhat limit the Yankees, especially on the road. I don't think the Yankees are screwed. I think they're going to win the division because Toronto really has not taken advantage of the current funk that the Yankees are in. They're still up double-digit games with about 2 months to go. They'll win the division, but I don't trust this team to do anything in the playoffs. They're too just fundamentally flawed, in my opinion. And the trade deadline acquisitions, they've all struggled. Benintendi has not looked great. At least they're going to go
to the playoffs.
I was going to say, Benintendi's has not looked great. I know he had a double, he was okay yesterday, but, Monta struggled, and F. Ross got killed yesterday, gave up the 3-run homer to DeYoung in the 8th inning. Nobody's really just performed ever since they traded for them, and I think that's a serious problem. That's my take.
And but advantage where they have a double-digit lead where they can, they can go through a rough stretch and not worry about somebody passing them up in the standings.
Yeah. Toronto, I don't think is going to catch them. So they are playing with a bit of house money. Now the problem is home field. You don't want to travel to Minute Maid for 4 games out of 7, but
True.
you're probably going to have to travel to Minute Maid for 4 games out of 7. I don't like the Yankees' chances in that series, but either way, they should win the division. So there's that.
And that's something.
That counts.
Yep. You get a banner for that, and it was Alstein's fault because he's still getting Netflix by disc. We're going to start with Anthony Santander. Boy, you talk about a guy that's been hitting pretty well for the 383 since the All-Star break. And he gets to face a left-handed pitcher in Kikuchi that likes to give up hits. It's a perfect match.
I like Santander as a player. The issue is with health.
I'm also going to go with Suzuki. That comes with true.
Yeah, it's good though.
Yeah, Suzuki's been terrible since the break. He's hit $155, but Chris, everybody hit Sanchez. It doesn't matter who you are. He's going up 6 homers in 20 innings. While that total might not go up tonight, he'll still give up a bunch of hits.
I'm
Matt
just gonna
Chapman.
I'm gonna let you run through. I'm gonna let you run through these. So I'll just let you do your thing.
Okay. We got Ty France of the Mariners. France homer a couple times over the weekend. Homered sad success last week against Tyone. And for some reason, like Scott said, the Yankees relief corps not been good. Rengifo. Oh, you talk about a guy that nobody's ever heard of. Batting .382 in the last month. He's basically been slotted into the 3-hole now because it's with Trout hurt and Ohtani. Up there, they got to have somebody up there that he can get a couple of hits. I'm not expecting any power out of him because if you looked, his home run prop was plus 700 or something like that. Same token, Sanchez under 16.5 outs recorded. More than 5 innings in any of his 4 starts this year. He's had 1 start in the last 2 years where he's pitched more than 5 innings. Now you want to tell me he's going to get, 17 outs? Speaking of guys that I'm not seeing, Justin Dunn, he's making his return. Didn't pitch last year. He struggled down in the minors. He's only up because Hunter Green is on the IL. That's 4. Wood over 4.5 strikeouts because as good as San Diego is, they still got some guys that are free swingers in there. And Keegan Thompson over 4.5 strikeouts. It's come down to 105. I'm going to ride with the fact that Thompson has pitched well. He's got about a 2.5 ERA at Wrigley Field. 5 Nationals in this one.
The Annibal one makes me laugh. And I get that the wind's blowing in, so you can argue that Sanchez might actually be able to get some quick outs because all the home run balls that he usually gives up are going to turn into flyouts. But the fact that his track record of going no length at all is so prominent, and yet it's still 16.5. That's not even 5 innings. That's like 5 2/3 in order to lose. That's a bit crazy.
Gone down. The line went down. It was minus 130, and then it went to minus 110.
I don't get it. And plus, the Nationals have always been terrible. So even if he pitches well, you might just pull the plug after 5 and say, you gave us a good outing. Let's carry that over for next time.
Right.
So,
and I didn't put any Mets batters up there, Brian. I like Pete Alonso over 1.5 total bases. I thought about Lindor, maybe Starling Marte. I just don't know. How long do I start seeing a bunch of the scrubs in there,
yeah,
getting at bats late in the game?
Definitely true. Just Dunn was the former Mariners pitcher, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, I remember him not being very good. I was just making sure I was thinking of the same guy. Yeah, I don't remember him being very good. I think he had some brief moments last year. He was good for maybe a month, but that's pretty much it. And he's going up against the Mets, who are absolutely just on fire right now. He's
been rough. Yeah, he's been roughed up in his rehab starts. He didn't actually, but then he went down with an injury.
Yeah.
I'm just going to look at his rehab numbers real quick here. Yeah, he was pitching at AAA Louisville. He's made 7 starts. He's 16 walks and 23 strikeouts. His whip is 1.808. 26 innings and 7 starts.
That's not good. That is not good. But yeah, I think the Mets dominate. I think they'll win this game 7-1. I see this game turning ugly.
Oh, I was gonna say I thought you were gonna say it was gonna go over, so I was gonna say
Oh, it could. The point is I think the Mets are gonna score a bunch of runs. That was my point.
9-2 or something. But yeah, Dunn has had control problems in the majors in his career. 69 walks and 102 and 2/3 innings.
By the way, I like how on the slide you have potential payout for money line and run line bets, and it's the same payout because you have 0 money lines and 0 run bets.
Yep.
So there you go.
That's what happens when there's only 7 games.
Yeah, that's what happens. But either way, I think that's pretty much going to do it for the show. You have anything else you want to add?
Yep. Go ahead. As Scott was saying, it's been a fun Monday. Hopefully things work out for you guys. Hopefully, we won't have issues where, everybody's internet wants to hello. But
yep.
Scott, anything you want to add before we exit stage left?
Yeah, just one thing to add, a reminder to some people, especially if you are a big fan of degenerate football betting, you got preseason action starting on Thursday. So preseason is upon us. We just had the Hall of Fame game last week. Now we actually have multiple games at the same time starting on Thursday. Should be fun. I like to bet preseason. You ever dabble in preseason?
Yeah, I mean, preseason, I'm sure everyone's really excited to see 3rd and 4th string guys playing massive amounts of.
Well, you can make money from it. That's all I know. I've made money on preseason for the last couple of years.
In these games. So you saw the total at, I don't know where Don saw the total of under 8.5 for the Yankees game. I saw it at 7.5.
Have
you seen it at 8.5 anywhere?
I was going to say, we'll compromise it and call it a flat 8. I think it's around 8. I also realized before I wrap up, though, I do have one other thing that I have to do. Talk about our sponsor. BetMGM has a great deal for first-time users of their app or website. Get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. All the information is in the show box. And as always, check the age limits and bet responsibly. But that's going to do it for this episode, the Monday edition of the Just Parlay Show. We'll be back tomorrow, hopefully with more consistent Wi-Fi. But until then, good luck to all of you and all your bets. Bye, everyone.